Boss's dewalt SDS, and it's not hammering. I've already taken it apart and fixed it once because nobody greased the chuck, so the hammer in there ended up binding up and jamming the whole transmission. And now I don't know what's happened to it again, but I'm gonna pull it apart and see if I can fix it real quick. Removing all the case bolts and then any accessories. There's a little clip in there underneath this rubber part. It just pries off, and then there's a little cover right here that you can pry off. Try not to lose any small parts, like this spring right here that can jump out, and then if this knob or anything can come apart, don't lose those parts. There's a bolt right underneath here, pull that out. The knob removed, we'll take this off. Simply pry this rubber snubber off the front. That's a grease seal, and it's what holds this chuck piece together. That can come apart as soon as you take off the little O-ring inside here. Little O-ring off, and it can be gently removed. There. That comes apart. There's this spring that retains a ball, and then there's the spring, this washer thing, and a grease seal all in there. Nothing else comes apart on this. Next step is separating the case enough that the front housing can pop out. Just start prying it apart just like this. Once you have that opened up enough, the front part right here will come out. You'll see all your components. Here's your transmission housing. This can just slide off. Notice any spring-loaded parts, such as this compression spring, its little retaining clip here, this compression spring, and of course the wires and stuff. But this just kind of spreads apart and slides off the front of the transmission. This is a plastic housing, but the transmission underneath is all metal. Notice I've disassembled this with the gear selector down. Here's your motor, and here's your transmission. Inserting the battery with the tool disassembled, you can see the motor is spinning freely, the shaft is spinning freely, but there's no hammer action even though it's in hammer mode. We're going to go ahead and crack the transmission open, which is just all these bolts. Just make sure you put the bolts back in the right places. With all the bolts out, the two long bolts go right here. Every other bolt is the same, almost identical to the case bolts, but make sure you keep them separate. Now we're going to separate the transmission housing via the same method. Just pry it apart with your pocket knife. Now, as far as spring-loaded components, there is none on this side. There is this main hammer, which is actually removable at this point. Keep in mind of this little spring-loaded pin here, which slides into this hole, and there is a washer on that. So we'll keep these all together with this ball right here. Make sure nothing is separated. Now if we rotate it slowly, you'll see this is the rotation side. It interacts with this spur gear. This is the hammer side, which is not currently hammering. And I'm noticing a part missing out of that. So we will disassemble this by removing all of it. There's not really anything spring-loaded, just keep in mind how this piece goes on there, because that is how it shifts gears, by sliding back and forth. Notice this is actually bent, so that's probably not a good sign, because that should be straight across. Don't lose this pin that goes in it. Okay, so we see a broken spline there, more broken splines here. There's a ball bearing on there, keep in mind of that. All in all. So the main issues that I found were the drive gear actually looks fine. It's engaging and disengaging just like it should. The bearings on everything are all good. The hammer side is where the issue lies. You can see that's where that engages. It looks like somebody engaged it while it was in spinning and busted that and this. So neither of those are really good for its health. And I've believe it was binding up and not working just because it has lots of shrapnel in it. I've already pulled out several of these big chunks and lots of smaller chunks. So I'm going to clean all of those out, re-grease it, and then this shift fork being bent from somebody jamming it into gear, I'm going to heat that up and fix it, straighten it out. I straightened it and retempered it. It's at least better than it was. So if I rotate this shifter, you can see how it's supposed to work. It pulls those two pieces up, right? And if neither of those is being lifted enough, which these are spring loaded, right? So if neither of them is being lifted enough to disengage, then it will never shift gears. And if I turn the knob forcefully, that one doesn't disengage. If I turn it this way, nothing is happening either way. Right, so this is clearly still jacked. So it looks like I may need to actually bend it a little bit more in order to get enough lift out of this part. Okay, admittedly it took me a couple of seconds or a couple of attempts to get this shift fork exactly the right angles, but it should look something like that in order to fully disengage these dogs. As you can see, it pulls that one apart, and then you can't really see it on that side, but it does the same thing to separate the hammer drive and the spin drive, rotation drive, whatever you want to call it, warp drive. Next, this little ball goes in a hole. Oh, it goes this way somehow. Let me figure that out real quick. Okay, it's a little Chinese finger trap or puzzle or whatever. It goes in there like that and then can't come back out. There really isn't anything in here that's spring loaded too much. As long as you get everything where it goes correctly, you're good. Power tool repairman, I'm an electrician. This is not what I do. Goes into this hole on the end of the hammer assembly. Now if you pull this out, there's a part inside there that can come out and needs greased, and then there's parts inside here that get greased. These are all components that are lubricated whenever you put grease in the bit holder, so you need to make sure you do that, otherwise this will break every time. These tools actually aren't that reliable if you don't maintain them. Make sure that washer's on there, install it onto that dealio, put it into the big hole at a funky angle. That shift pin came out, so I'm going to put it in last. That gives me more flexibility to get this all together correctly. Okay, something like that. I'm going to take this pin, straighten out this shift fork. Oh my god! Parts are too small. Camera angle is too bad for me to show you. Perfect. Now we just install this pin. Bam, she's good to go. I'm gonna spray it all down with lithium grease and reassemble stuff in it. Okay, now this chuck is fairly difficult to put together. This ball goes in that hole. And then you have this grease washer, which goes in next, right there over everything. Then there's that regular kind of funky shaped metal washer that goes on. If I can figure out where I put it. Okay, you'll notice there's this tab right here, and then on the other side there's kind of a rounded detent. The rounded detent goes where the ball is in order to hold the ball in place.